NewsNation's Alex Caprariello live for us here in Chicago with more. So, Alex, hearing from the governor there, what else are we hearing from the Trump administration?
Yeah, it's fascinating to see this play out. Obviously, this is a story we've been covering day in and day out since Operation Midway Blitz began in early September. But this is the very first time that we've seen Governor Pritzker actually line up beside those former U.S. Major Generals, as well as Admiral, making the joke that we're right here on Lake Michigan, so they needed a sailor to be a part of that. But obviously, these former members of our military will have incredible insight about the deployment and the rollout, possibly, of National Guardsmen here in Chicago and the state of Illinois. As you know, Nichole, right now, the National Guardsmen are here in Illinois. They are allowed to stay here. But as of right now, a federal judge has blocked them from actually rolling out. This is something that draws the ire of the Trump administration. They see the National Guard being a very useful tool to protect federal buildings, and namely federal ICE agents, the ones that are carrying out this massive immigration enforcement here in the city. So Governor Pritzker's press conference today following President Trump's comments from the Oval Office yesterday.
If we didn't have to fight all of these radical left governors, we could have had Chicago taken care of, as an example. They had, in a short period of time, 4,000 murders in Chicago, and we have to listen to this man stand up and say that we're bad people.
And the feud between Governor Pritzker and Trump has gone on day in and day out. They most often use disparaging words against each other and their own tactics. So let's take a listen to Governor Pritzker just moments ago.
This effort to deploy troops in American cities is not normal. There is no rational justification for such a deployment. It is a breach of the most fundamental values and customs that our armed forces operate on.
And again, the National Guard is not allowed to be deployed at this time due to that federal judge's order, but they are still here in Illinois, particularly some from the Illinois National Guard, as well as some that traveled all the way from Texas, and they're stationed about an hour south of where I currently am. We do have some new developments this morning as well related to the ICE enforcement operations here. A judge now declaring that ICE agents need to be wearing body-worn cameras on their vests. We're going to see how quickly that actually rolls out, because that has to do with a lot of the use of force action that ICE agents have been taking, specifically when they say that protesters become unruly, begin throwing rocks, and in some cases eggs at them. And then the other interesting thing that we heard from a judge today was we are hearing essentially that the judge does not believe that the temporary restraining order against ICE agents is being followed when they use force against protesters and against the press. And so this judge is actually calling in the field director to come into court next Monday to actually answer some questions and try to get to the bottom of whether or not this temporary restraining order is being followed.
Yeah, some major developments there in court. All right, so Alex, President Trump now says he has his eye on two other Democratic strongholds for this federal enforcement. Where is he suggesting next?
Yeah, so we know that there is federal enforcement all across the country, but more specifically in places like Portland, Chicago, Memphis, as well as Washington, D.C. Now it seems as if President Trump has his eyes on two other major cities, number one being Boston, Massachusetts, the second one being San Francisco, California. Obviously, we know that President Trump has had his eye on San Francisco for quite some time. He very often references it as being a city of the past, something that was really in its glory days 10 to 15 years ago. We also know he's had a certain infatuation with Alcatraz Island, potentially being refurbished as a place to take prisoners. And also, he knows that we often see him point out violent crime and property crime. But when you actually look at the statistics, particularly when it comes from city and state leaders like the mayor or Governor Gavin Newsom, they overwhelmingly show that crime is down in San Francisco. They say citywide, it's down 30%. Homicides, they're now at a 70-year low, and then car break-ins also at a 22-year low. So let's take a listen to comments that the mayor of San Francisco said recently.
We know it doesn't stop at the National Guard. It continues with other types of enforcement. But to see tear gas and all the things that are happening, we don't want that type of civil unrest or chaos here. Our job is to keep order in our streets. And right now, San Franciscans trust us to get that job done.
Quick correction, that was Brooke Jenkins, the district attorney of San Francisco. NewsNation research shows that while violent crime may be down in San Francisco, property crime is not necessarily so. It ranks number 13 in the country for property crime.
All right, Alex Caprariello with the very latest live for us here in Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.